right, let's make sure we can hear. Y'all know I like to make sure I can hear. Y'all know I like to make sure I can hear. Oh, let me turn that fan on. Hold on. All right, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the All Things Life and Sports podcast with Kylan Thomas. That's me. I'm your host, Kylan Thomas. Let's get into it. As you can see, based on the title, we are diving into the AFC North. I did the AFC East, I did the NFC South. Now we diving into the AFC North. As I currently have to my right, the Browns currently playing. We're gonna get into the quarterback competition. We diving into each team. Y'all know how to do each team. They all season moves. Then I'm up at the end predict who I have winning the division, who gonna be fourth, third, second, first. So let's get into it. First, we actually are going to talk about the Browns. I was going to wait till that game was over, but I said, no, you know what? Let's go ahead and get it because I'm trying to catch Shador in the second half. But the Browns had an eventful offseason. They had an eventful offseason. They fired head coach Kevin Stefanski. He's won Coach of the Year twice in his tenure back in 2020 and 2023. We all know what happened last year, the quarterback battle between Shador, Gabriel, Watson, who they signed, injuries, the off the field issues. So I said it last season. Stefanski, at some point, which you've seen the counterparts in the Steelers, the Ravens. At some point, we just need new. We just need. He's had all these quarterbacks up under him, and outside of them 2 seasons, you can't get nobody going. So that was how last year went with that shuffling. And I mean, I feel like this was kind of, you know, obvious that this was going to happen. So then they bring in Todd Monken, though. That's kind of where the issue was. You bring in Todd Monken, an older guy. He's been an OC. He was Lamar's former OC. First time head coaching gig. That's who you decide to bring in to work with these young quarterbacks that you have. Now, granted, he was with Lamar, but he was with Lamar back in what, 2023 to 2025. And Lamar had been in the league for years. You see what I'm saying? So been in the league for years. And then Monken, because I was gonna get into Miles, but we'll do it when we get into the defense because that is a part of the event for off season. But I just I don't really understand hiring Monken when you got these young quarterbacks, especially an older guy in his first head coaching gig. I tell you what, just based on how it's going, how the competition is playing out, reports coming out of Browns camp, I definitely feel Monken was brought in. Monken was brought in to bring out the best of Deshaun Watson. We saw what he did with Lamar Jackson. Lamar won an MVP under him as well. We saw how he untapped Lamar's potential. The passing game. Look, Deshaun not gonna be able to run the ball like he could back then, and he was asked about it. He talked about it. Everybody keep asking me about Texans, but that was years ago. I'm not saying I won't run, I can't run, but I had to unlock another ability. And that's what Monken showed and did with Lamar. He really unlocked and opened up Lamar in that passing game. This hire was definitely for Deshaun Watson. This is Deshaun's job to lose. Monken was brought in. Now, what you do, you again get you a great DC. Browns defense, they've been stout. Now, granted, you traded away the Stallworth, who was a big reason of that. He's now has the most sacks in a single season in franchise in NFL history with 23. But here is Todd Monken talking about his first head coaching gig. Now, why am I the son watch? Hold on, y'all. Now I gotta play it and make sure it works. Let me make sure y'all can hear it.
When we were at the owners,
All right.
well, before when we were at the owners meeting, I met with a couple head coaches that, for the first time, did it last year and talked to them a little bit about the off season to start, then the season, then being on the sidelines. When the officials came in the spring to visit, I met with them for an hour of what they saw from first-time head coaches and the mistakes they make. So all you can do is prepare as best you can with those that have been through it, like we all do, and from an official standpoint, how they view it and how they see it, and then you go from there. And that's the cool thing about this. This isn't just for the players. This is for the coaches as well. This is for myself. This for with Rudy, right? This for Byron. We're all going through it for the first time, and I can't wait. It's gonna be really cool.
So Mike Greenberg, first time.
So that was Munkin talking about preparing for his first NFL head coaching gig at his age. First NFL head. Now y'all know if you've watched me throughout time, you know I love underdog stories. I tend to always root and go for the underdog to a fault. It ends up getting me a lot because at the end of the day, sometimes you got to go head over heart. And that in this case, I'm gonna go head over heart because I don't know about that. Because too, the thought was they were going to promote DC Jim Schwartz, who had that Browns defense at an elite level. They kind of pulled the rug off from under him and just pivoted and went to Munkin. I mean, everybody was talking about Barry and them and how they handled that situation. So that's another thing. Players look at that. I mean, you got to think about all those things. We always say when you go from coordinator to head coach is different. That first year, it's going to be a lot to maneuver and learn. And again, especially for somebody at that age. Now, like I mentioned with Deshaun Watson, I think Munkin was brought in to untap Deshaun Watson, especially if he's back healthy. You know, we ain't really got no more injury concerns out of him. He was brought in to do what he did for Lamar Jackson, which Deshaun never really had a problem throwing the ball. But he's not going to be able to heavily rely on his legs. I don't think he wants to at this point in his career. Reports though out of training camp, we all know about the quarterback competition. It's still not solidified. It's still not set. My thing is, Mike, and you know Deshaun Watson is the QB1. I mean, you keep coming out in your pressures talking about trying to explain yourself as to why Watson's getting first team rep, why you switch the first team reps to Watson. Not, bro, just go ahead and name Watson the quarterback one. Ain't no use to keep playing with Shador, making him think he's the starter. It's funny how nobody's talking about Dylan Gabriel and all this when he got drafted higher than Shador. But go ahead and name your quarterback one. That'll do you a good one. Deshaun, Shador, and the rest of the team. Let's just go ahead and say who the quarterback one is and stop pitter paddling. That's why I'm like, he's already kind of he's trying to please everybody, bro. You the head coach. This is my quarterback one, and this is how we moving and going forward from that. But reports out of training camp so far is Deshaun is having a little bit of a turnover problem. But at the end of the day, they signed into that contract. That contract, this is the thing people forget, that contract still there. That they're gonna get some out of them. They've been paying this man. They're gonna get some out of him. You see what I'm saying? So, but even with the turnovers, guys, he hadn't played in a year. It's been a whole year since Deshaun Watson played. And even the other season he's played, he was out for I don't want to say 10, 11 games for suspension. When's the last time Deshaun Watson played a full NFL season? I want to say during the broadcast during the game, they said he's only played like 70 games in 4 years. So you got 4 years with 16, 17 game season. I want to say out of the available, we'll do the calculations on that. I'll do it on one of these clips. But out of 4 years, he's played in a short amount of games for the Browns, and they signed him to that contract. So they're going to get something out of Deshaun Watson. But I won't worry too much about the turnovers because again, he hasn't played in a year. He's gonna try things. He's gonna do things. He's gonna like that. That's what happens in training camp. That's what you do in training camp. But let me play that because he was asked about that. It's just the clip. I think my clip's kind of. We're gonna make it do what it do.
Yeah, I mean, I think every interception isn't, especially at this time of the year, you kind of got to look at them differently. In certain situations, what are we working on? What throws are we working on? Have I tried this throw before? We might have tried it in routes in air and see if I can try it in a live period. And sometimes the defense make a good job, and then also, sometimes it might be a bad throw or a bad decision. So you kind of got to grow from them, and it's better to have those moments now rather than an actual game.
So yeah, so that's the thing. Again, I used to be one of those people very like, oh, training camp. I'm looking at every report. I'm looking at every report. What this guy doing, how that guy doing. But as I've gotten grown into this thing, into this business and going about, guys, y'all can't trust none coming out of training camp. I'm sorry, like you can't trust none coming out of training camp because too there's periods that media can't be a part of that them the ones that the true, you see what I'm saying? Even like in the Browns, the only team doing this. They coming out with each quarterback's numbers. They doing it. They doing that Alamo Cook. They doing that mess again this year. They got each quarterback stats and how like it's so many. It's so much context that goes into that. Like who was with the first team? Who was with the third team? Who was with? So it just the fact that the Browns organization is playing into this whole Shador Deshaun. But that's why I said you Monken as the head coach, you gotta shut that down and go ahead and name your quarterback one. You know who your quarterback one is. But Deshaun again, if he's healthy, you got Judkins, you got Sampson. Both have showed flashes, have showed promise. You got Jerry Judy. You went out and drafted Casey Concepcion, your slot guy, your speedy twitchy guy. So you're building the pieces. That's why you need to go ahead and let everybody know who the guy is so that we can go ahead and build this rapport, get this thing going, knowing who our QB1 is. Um but just to look at a couple rankings, because the Browns offense was horrible last year. So I definitely understand and why they brought in Munkin. They were 31st, literally second to last in the NFL in passing offense, 27th in rushing offense. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So 30th in total offense. But you had Flacco at some point. You had Dylan Gabriel at some point. You had Shador Sanders come in at some point. So when you shuffling, I said it with the Jets. When you got Brady Cook and was it Tyrod Taylor? Yeah, I mean Justin Fields. Yeah, the offense isn't going to be great. Like I mean, what do we expect? You see what I'm saying? So build around. Go ahead and name Deshaun. I like the pieces. I like what you're building around him. But I also understand the argument of if Deshaun and Shador are like this, neck and neck, why not just go ahead and go with the young guy that you drafted last year and let's build this thing around him. Let's let him go ahead and get his reps. As a coach, as a fan, I want to go with the one who give us the best chance to win, not just automatically throwing a young guy in there. If I feel Deshaun gives us the best chance to win, that's who I'm going to go with. The veteran quarterback, who again is under this massive contract that we signed him to that we ain't got none out of. Now, at some point though, you just got to charge it to the game. You just got to charge some. You just got to charge some stuff to the game. Now we finna get ready to watch Shador in the second half. Then next game, Shador gonna start, and then I guess Deshaun gonna come in the second half. Or I guess that's how they gonna do this. Us as fans will be able to watch and see as well. We ain't in film, we ain't in all that, but I think he should just go ahead and name Deshaun Watson the QB1. I mean, this is an eventful off season because it's just too much going on. You a new head coach. You want to go ahead and get things solidified. You see what I'm saying? But I'll give them this. They definitely are trying to build that offensive line around whatever quarterback they decide to go with. Traded for Texans tackle Titus Howard. They re-signed guard Tevin Jenkins. They signed center Elston Jenkins. Last season, that Browns offensive line finished 31st in the NFL overall. They had about, you might as well say, 32 teams, second to last worst offensive line in the NFL. Now, you did have some injuries. You did have two rookie quarterbacks come in who don't know how to make checks, who don't know how to identify the mic, who want to hold on to the ball, who want to run around. Both of them did that. Who want to run around? They're rookies. They don't know how to set the line and set this up, set that up. Now your center supposed to help the young guy, but so to put it into context, the Browns offense just had everything, just had almost everything working against them. So they working with a whole new offensive line. Then that whole new offensive line got to work with a whole new quarterback back there. Even the Shador back there who's played, but Tevin Jenkins the only one that's back. So that's again why I say he need to go ahead and name who is who so that these guys can get reps together. You don't want to. Munkin got it. Defensively, you traded away your stalwart player in Myles Garrett, who I said earlier just made history, had the most sacks in NFL history in a single season with 23. That Browns defense, to just grab some of their rankings, 4th in total D, 16th in rushing defense, 3rd in passing defense. Again, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz had that defense cooking. He did not come back this year. But I do like, even though you got rid of Garrett, you still got a young stud in Jared Verse back. So I'm not saying Jared Verse is going to be as good as or replace Myles Garrett. But Verse ain't no scrub, guys. Jared Verse, he's had 12 sacks so far in his career. He had 7.5 last year. From the 4.5 the year before, 7.5 last year. So he's only gonna get better. And then especially now, this how I would operate. This how I would do. That will fuel my fire. That'll get me going. People like, oh, you traded away Garrett to bring him in. What you think he gonna like? He coming in with a chip on his shoulder, like, and he said it in his interview. I'm not gonna play that part, but he's only gonna be better. Mason Graham is going into year 2. Carson, the linebacker you drafted last year with Graham, going into year 2. So they have an opportunity to keep this thing going, to build on that defensive performance last season. But again, you do still have a new defensive coordinator. Let me see. And let me play Munkin. And I want to play this because I remember when this happened, and I saw this clip months ago when the trade happened. Munkin was talking about, they don't assure you of any player that's going to stay. They don't, like, it's not foregone of anybody. No, you thought you were coming in to coach Myles Garrett. Let's that's that on that. I don't even think he probably would have took this job if he thought Myles Garrett wasn't going to be there, because he's going to look at it like, what I'm going to have to work with defensively. This man, which I'm just still, I don't know why he would take this gig. I don't. You're an older coach. What, you gonna stick around for a Browns rebuild? You gonna be the guy to rebuild the Browns? But here is Munkin talking about the Myles Garrett trade. See, trying to make it seem like it's not a big deal that they didn't notify him because at this point, and I didn't even know this before doing research. At this point, he hadn't even met Myles Garrett yet. That should have told you something right there. That's one of the first dudes you want to meet, not one of the first guy you want to meet. That's your franchise.
I'm never told who's going to be on the team, who's not going to be on the team. If that's a question, every day we evaluate the roster. Andrew evaluates the roster. Management evaluates the roster. And like I said, he's no different than any other player we've got. So I don't know how to respond to that based on, because it's really no different today than it's been for the last however many months I've been head coach.
Have you been assured he'll be here June 9th?
No, I wasn't assured that when I took the job. I was never assured of anything when I took the job, other than once I signed my contract and whatever my contract said, that's what I was assured. And no matter what any of us coaches sign up for, is we show up every day and we coach the guys who are in the building like we've done since we've been here. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, he was not happy about them trading away Miles Garrett. But I'm gonna go ahead and play Jared verse 2 talking about, his expectations, him coming into this Browns organization. Because pretty much he was asked the fact that the Browns said with the Rams, we are not trading you, Miles Garrett, unless Jared Verse has to be a part of this deal. Because again, yeah, you traded away Miles Garrett. Let me just say this: Miles should have left last season. He should have left last season, but him and his agent was smart. Go ahead and get the deal with the Browns. That way we can trade you somewhere else, and then they'll just take your contract on the books. Let them, you sign with them, go through this year. Because, I mean, he came out saying, I like the direction we're going. You should have left last year. Did the Rams have the cap space to pay him that last year? So it's, I'm telling you, this stuff is all a business. It's all a business. But here's Jared Verse on being a Brown.
I feel like that's a testament to not only me, but my family. How hard we work and everything like that. I feel like hard work never fails you, and to know that that this wasn't gonna go through if I wasn't a part of it. It's good to know that. Like that was probably the biggest fact that brought some sunshine into this whole situation for me. I saw that, I was like, yeah, they want me, and it was cool. It was cool to know that.
Mindset stepping in.
So yeah, he again to just get some perspective. He knew he was wanted with that Browns organization. Now, as I mentioned, got your D tackle Mason Graham, linebacker Carson Turkey. We from Jacksonville, from Duval, we traded y'all Tyson Campbell. Do y'all feel like y'all have y'all's corner? Again, I said it when we signed him. I did not think he was worth that contract. Tyson's not an elite cornerback to me. I think he's probably a very good number 2. I try to tell the people here in Jacksonville that they didn't want to listen. I did not like signing him to that country. I just never saw elite cornerback, elite CB1 and Tyson Campbell. Can he be that for the Browns? Can new DC Mike Rutenberg, can he bring that out of him? Can he keep the success of the Browns defense? Can he keep that going? And while I mentioned Wright Rutenberg, he's a former, last year he was the Falcons defensive pass game coordinator. Now, Falcons defense were ranked 13th in passing D. Now again, he ain't the DC, but just a good look stat to take a look at when that's what he oversaw. So I'm gonna play it real quick. Rutenberg, just to give y'all a glimpse of the DC, he talked about his vision for the Browns defense, or what he wants their personality to be like. Because you got to fill some big shoes, bro. I mean, Schwartz had that defense rolling. When we over here trying to figure out our offense, you got to keep that thing stout. You got to keep that defense rocking. And we got guys who show flashes and who were elite last year. They don't need to regress. We need to get better. We need to improve, not regress. So he got some big shoes to fill. Not even big shoes to fill, but he got to keep that.
Words. We all want a competitive ass football team, right? And nobody wants fights or skirmishes that create penalties in a game, for example. But defensively, I would say all defensive coaches say we live on the edge and we push the envelope as far as it goes. And you got to do that without being selfish. You got to do that while being under control, because a penalty or something that hurts our team becomes a selfish act. But to see our guys competing at the highest level and going hard against each other is only going to make our team better.
Now, that was just a glimpse on that. Now to take a look at their draft class, with their first pick, they went tackle Spencer Fano out of Utah. He was seen as probably the best tackle prospect in this draft. Um, Building on that offensive line, got a new offensive line, shoring up around whatever quarterback you do have. They're building it for a young quarterback to come in. Is that Shedeur Sanders though? A lot of pundits, a lot of people out there predict the Browns are going to be towards the bottom of the barrel of the NFL again. And if so, do we go ahead and get Arch Manning? Do we go ahead and get if Lenore Sellers come out and proves the show again this year? Do we go ahead and get Lenore? If DJ Latway shows and explodes this year and comes out, do we get one of these guys like that? What's the dude that went over to what's the dude that went? It's a couple other names, but do we get one of those guys, or do we rock with Shedeur? I'm telling y'all, if they are at the bottom of the NFL and they got a top draft pick, they're going to go quarterback. That with an O-line that's being built up, with wide receiver prospects, run game, young running back prospects, young defensive prospects. I'm telling y'all, they building for the future. So it is the Browns is just so weird. I'm interested to see how it all plays out. But yeah, Spencer Fano, you pair him on the opposite side of Tyus Howard. I mentioned Casey Concepcion, a shifty, speedy slot guy. Denzel Boston, another wide receiver. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, a safety. Austin Barber, tackle out of Florida. Parker Brailsford, he's a center. Justin Jefferson, a linebacker. And then Joe Royer, tight end. Taylor Green, I'm not really expecting. I noticed I didn't really mention him in the quarterback battle. And Carson Ryan. Now that's that pretty much on the Browns offseason. Next, we are going to talk about the Bengals. It's really not much to say about the Bengals because I don't want to go off of what last year was, because Joe Burrow was out majority of the season. I want to say he only played in 8-9 games. He was out majority of the season. So I don't want to put too much stock in what that year was. But it's the same, it's always the same thing with Burrow. When is he gonna play a full NFL season again? When is he gonna stay healthy? You see what I'm saying? When is he gonna get that injury prone moniker that a lot of these other guys get that stay hurt? You got, if he can just stay healthy, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. That offense gonna be elite. You see what I'm saying? That offense is gonna be what it is. The run game need to be a little better. Chase Brown showed some promise. The offensive line has improved from years past though, because he used to get lit up. They've improved from years past. Defense improved. You brought in Sexy Dexy, Dexter Lawrence, Al Golden going into year 2. Defense was still horrible last season. We'll get on them a little bit later. But Burrow and Zach Taylor, excuse my language, y'all let this shit or get out the pot year. This is the year y'all at. We can't keep, it's another injury plagued season. Oh, the reason Zach Taylor's still there and still seem pretty is because Joe Burrow keep getting hurt. He can keep using, my quarterback was hurt. And at the end of the day, is that his fault? Now Jake Brown can come in and he does what he do, show flashes, but he's not a consistent QB1 type of guy. He could he be? I'm not saying, but for last year, I don't think he can consistently give you that. When Burrow's healthy, they've been in the AFC Championship game. They've been to a Super Bowl. He going in a year 7. constant injuries. Now, just to give that O-line kudos, because again, we all used to talk about how sorry they were. But last season, they ranked 14th overall in the league, and they had the ninth best sack rate in the NFL with 5.3%. Now, the run blocking was 30th in the league. They got to get that run game going in Cincinnati. If they get a decent run game along with the threat of them wide receivers, if Burrow's healthy, that's something like for since it's not really much to say, but can Joe Burrow stay healthy? Now, let me play him because I actually like this question Kate Adams asked. She asked him, how have you improved your mind, your body, like those aspects? And I'm going to play what his answer was because, yeah, I mean, it's year after year after year after year, injury after injury after injury. What have you done differently? Like, what are you doing differently? It was like Zion Williamson in New Orleans. Are you doing anything differently to prevent this from happening?
A lot of chess, keeping my mind sharp, making sure I get my sleep, surrounding myself with people that I love, people that I care about, people that aren't going to take away, people that are going to, help fill me up, and I'll help fill them up as well. And people that motivate me, and, obviously taking care of my body, working out, training, lifting, throwing, running, all that.
Anything
that's
different,
part of
like
it.
a sleep thing? You sleeping more?
No, I've always slept.
Okay.
I've always slept a lot. I would say as I've gotten older, I've had to sleep less, which has been good for these, 8:30, 8 a.m. meetings. I've never been a morning person, but, as I've gotten older, it's been a little easier for me. I would say I'm just resting more, listening to my body and not pushing through things when in years past I probably would have, just because I was so, can't miss a day, can't miss a day, can't miss a day.
Mm.
Now I kind of understand that just because you miss a day doesn't mean you have to sit on the couch. You can be active and be recovering at the same time.
And help your soul. Is that like your soul's piano have something to do with that? Music?
Yeah, I've been playing some piano, staying in touch with friends, family. I had a lot of fun on my family vacation this year. That was a good time. So I'm just trying to find ways to make myself happy.
So there's that. He kind of laid out some of the things he's doing, some of the changes he's made to potentially prevent these injury things that he constantly has from happening. But just to kind of piggy or go back to what I mentioned about the run game, because and this is the thing with Joe Burrow, this is why you have to stay healthy though, because if I'm not worried about who y'all got back there calling y'all sitting the caller, if I'm not worried about them, yeah, we're gonna focus on stopping the run. We ain't gotta worry about Joe Burrow slicing and dicing. Because if we sell out for the run and Joe Burrow back there, he gonna tear us up. We ain't got no threat of that in Cincy because of his injury. So maybe that will change anyway with him coming back and playing and staying healthy the whole season. Now to go on that Bengals defense, they again horrible. I remember breaking them down last year. I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. I thought Golden would have came in and with Shamar Stewart, with some of the young guys they had. Shamar Stewart, another guy, having injury problems early in your career, already having injury problems. He's currently out now for weeks. What I want to say, a pull hamstring. But Golden, that defense was 31st in total defense. 31st in total defense, 26 in passing defense, 32nd in rush defense. They were the worst team stopping the run. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. It's a bad recipe when you can't run the ball offensively and you can't stop the run defensively. But for Golden, he was a first-time DC last season. He was just coming in the NFL. He was just coming over from Notre Dame. He even talked about it last year. He talked about we got a lot of young guys. We worry about developing them. getting them going. Yeah, not what they did this offseason. You brought in Dexter Lawrence. You brought in Trey Hendrickson. Uh, I'll find it. I put the list. Yeah, Kyle Duggars, Jasir Taylor. You brought in veteran D tackle Jonathan Allen, safety Brian Cook. It turned real quick from worrying about the young guys and trying to develop the young talent over to, you know what? Let's get some veteran players in here. Get the veterans in to piece and plug with the young guys so that the young guys can develop behind said veterans. You don't never want to just rely on just straight rookies and second, and you know what I'm saying? So that philosophy changed this year. So just off of bringing in Dexter Lawrence, I think this defense going to be heavily improved anyway. Shamar Stewart will see about that. Can this potentially be the best defensive line that's been under Zach Taylor? If they can get this defense going, if Golden can get this defense shored up this year, they're going to get more pressure on the quarterback naturally because you got better pieces along that D line. You're going to get more pressure. If they can short that defense, and if Burrow and them can stay healthy offensively, Bengals ain't gonna be nothing to play with. The Bengals ain't. Last year was the year to have another bad defensive year because of how everything played out. I mean, but this year it got to be better. It got to be better. Let me play. And speaking of Dexter Lawrence, let me play his interview after his first Bengals training camp. I'm gonna play the start because the question kind of mentioned, dang, we already noticing you pushing the line. It's quick, like we see the difference already. So we're gonna play that and then we'll move on.
Joe noted how quickly that you applied pressure a few times today and how big, an obstacle it is to throw around you when you do.
I looked him in his eye a couple times. I didn't say much. I let him be the quarterback today. But it's good. It's just a competitive spirit, and that and me doing that is gonna help him get better. And him, finding ways to get around me and throw the ball around gonna help me get better. And it's all situational. So it's good to test all those situations here in practice and camps. And so in the game, it's just second nature.
What he was saying, the size that he was saying.
All right, so that was that. Now I'm about to play Zach Taylor talking about Dexter Lawrence. While that comes up, I also forgot to mention defensive end Boye Master. They brought him in as well. Let me see. Let me grab that. I don't know. Here we go. Now he was asked throughout Lawrence's career, you played him twice. What has playing him twice kind of, what excites you about him? So let me see. Here's Zach Taylor talking about Dexter Lawrence.
Notes on Dexter Lawrence. Those are guys you've known since he came into the draft. That you don't have to remind yourself the presence he has on the field and the way you have to game plan around him and the production he creates for those around him. And probably the production he gets, he probably doesn't show what he does for others, in which he's deserving of that. So I think when you add him and a lot of the other starters that we've added on defense this offseason, we've got a lot of confidence in that group going forward.
How much can
And correction, I think I mentioned they picked up Trey Henderson. I meant they had all the chatter last season about Trey Henderson and lost him, but they brought in the Boye Mafe, the Dexter Lawrences, and those other guys. And then to take a look at their draft class, their first pick was defensive end, Cassius Howe. Then they go corner to Cario Davis, Connor Liu, a center, wide receiver Colby Young, offensive tackle Brian Parker II, tight end Jack Indries, D tackle Landon Robinson. So they they definitely went defensive heavy in this draft. So that was kind of pretty much just a little preview or breakdown of the Bengals offseason. Again, really wasn't much offensively I wanted to tap in because they got one there. Really just be healthy. Can he just stay healthy? Next team we're gonna take a look into is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they won the division. They won the AFC North last year. 10-7 won the AFC North last year. When the last time that happened between the Bengals and the Ravens? Since Lamar Jackson has led the Ravens, when the last time 10-7 won the AFC North? Even the Steelers when they win the division. That just lets you know how down of a year the AFC North had as a whole last year. We all know the Browns gonna be the Browns. The Steelers as well, they did not have a good year defensively. They did not have a good year offensively, but that goes into the legend of Mike Tomlin. Because once we get into these numbers and these rankings, I don't know how they went 10-7. They were bottom of the league in every category. I don't know how they went 10-7. But Lamar Jackson did miss 4 games. If he hadn't missed those 4 games, could this have played out a little different? We don't know. We're going to find out this year. But for the Steelers, I mentioned 2 years ago, not last season, but the season before, I mentioned then that he was on the hot seat. It's only so much they're going to take. The last time the Steelers won a playoff game was back in 2017, almost 10 years. They got mollywopped 30-6 this year because they shouldn't even made the playoff. They just happened to win that horrible division. They got mollywopped 30-6. The last time they won, it was the year before they played us, Duval, when we still had Blake Bortles and Leonard Fournette. When that year they was doing all them talking, they was doing all the talking and interviews, talking about they ready for the Patriots. Y'all still got to play Jacksonville. So before that year, that was the last time the Steelers won a playoff game. It's only so much that Steelers brass is going to take of that. I guarantee it was hard. Now, they do say Tomlin stepped away. He stepped down. He was going to get fired. One thing my dad, especially my dad, one thing my parents, when you say somebody, they stepped down, I resigned, they was fun to get fired. They tell you, go ahead and we're gonna let you step down. We're gonna let you resign. If you don't, we're just gonna fire. He was fun to get fired. I saw that coming since Big Ben, and he has not been able to figure out the quarterback. I mean, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Go in there, Arrow. I said to call my phone. It's not in here. Go in there. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Let me see. But a lot of Steelers fans, sorry, we had a little interruption. A lot of Steelers fans was like, I mean, is it Tomlin's fault? GM, they couldn't get a quarterback in here. For Tomlin and all his legendary, his Hall of Fame status, he definitely has a say on quarterback. I don't care, but they ain't been able to get it. You mean to tell me they had the 3 Bs: Ben Roethlisberger, Brown, and Bell? Y'all ain't had no plan for when all 3 of them were gone. All y'all. Now they with Aaron Rodgers. Let's play this. We're gonna play this. This was his first comments since stepping down as the Steelers head coach. Let's get that going. I want to give Mike Tomlin his due, his, and this is need to know.
You know, it's often said, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time. Like you have to choose. And, I think our experience here in Pittsburgh and with the great Steeler organization exemplifies that, man. We were here for a long and really good time. It's been an honor to serve the greatest organization in sport. It's been an honor to be a part of this great community, to call it home, for our kids to call it home. We're in somewhat of a nomadic business, and so we don't take that for granted, that our kids get an opportunity to call Pittsburgh home. It's been an honor to serve the community in which we live, its values that we hold, and it will continue. We appreciate the recognition, but as my wife said, we certainly don't do it for that. We've been extremely blessed, man, and we just like to share those blessings. We thank you.
So again, Tomlin's kind of stayed pretty quiet. Again, that video was his first comment since the resignation. So I kind of just wanted to play that. But then you got Aaron Rodgers coming in, and you go out and hire Mike McCarthy. It's the same thing I kind of said with Todd Monken. What's with the Steelers got an old quarterback and an old head coach? You see what I'm saying? Like, what you trying to do one last run? I don't even think y'all did enough this offseason to better what y'all had last season. I do like bringing in Rico Dowdle. I like trading for Michael Pittman. Can Patrick Graham get that defense back to his glory? I believe he can. I for the Steelers, you know what? I honestly like the pieces they did. I just like Bengals and Ravens better. Is Rodgers even going to stay healthy? DK Metcalf, I am interested to see what they do in year 2, because if I look at Metcalf's numbers, he had 850 yards receiving. That's the least amount of yards he's had receiving in his career. We go back to his rookie year, he had the same amount of receptions, but he had 900 yards. So that relationship didn't materialize how we thought it could. Michael Pittman's had injury concerns. So now again, y'all know how I feel about year 2. Their relationship and chemistry obviously could be better in year 2. But let's actually listen to DK Metcalf talk about him and Rodgers going into year 2.
Since we were, he was 50 years old and I was 10. We were kind of like trying to get used to the dynamic of everything. He was in a new place, I was in a new place. I think right now our communication is far beyond where it was last year when we first got to camp. He was at, a couple OTA practices, so was I. So I think, we're just leaps ahead of the communication aspect, how we view each other, how we communicate on and off the field right now. So I just think that was the biggest step, the biggest difference that I seen from last year. I think it's just only going to continue to grow.
Ooh, that was my little song. I mean, that was my video. That was my song I was playing next. But so that's that. The relationship going into year 2. Looking at their rankings offensively last year, when you had Rodgers, you had DK, you Roman Wilson, and throw him in there. He played in 13 games. Roman Wilson had 12 receptions for 166 yards. And that's supposed to be wide receiver 3 behind Pittman and DK. Now, I do like them drafting Jeremy Bernard. He showed promise. I want to say their preseason game yesterday. He showed some flash and some quickness in the slot. So a lot of fans, a lot of Steelers think it's gonna be Jeremy Bernard opposed to Roman Wilson. He does look a lot twitchy, like faster than him. But 25th in total, 22nd in passing offense, 26th in rushing offense. That's why you go in and bring in Rico Dowdle. So honestly, I actually like some of the pieces the Steelers did. Again, I just don't think it's enough to match up with the Bengals and the Ravens in that division. Let me play this because Aaron Rodgers, he also talked about why he came back, and pretty much Mike McCarthy being a big reason of that. Again, that's why I'm mentioning what y'all trying to do one last run. Y'all better hope y'all even make the division. Y'all better hope y'all even win the division this year. 10-7. What's the win? Where we improving from on 10-7? Almost everybody in the AFC North got a new head coach except for the Bengals. So I can't even really use new head coach because they all got new head coaches. But here's Rodgers talking about, and then it's just still y'all went through another offseason of waiting on Aaron Rodgers, who is so crazy because Packers Aaron Rodgers, I was one of the biggest Aaron Rodgers fans. I would defend him to the I ain't care what nobody had to say about Aaron Rodgers. But these last couple of years, I like, what is going on? Like, what dude got going on? But just go and retire. That apparently this year hit last year. But here is Rodgers talking about why he came.
That's the reason I'm back. Last year I wanted to play for Mike Tomlin, and I loved my experience. And when that came to an end, I thought, I don't know if I want to just like relearn an offense. It's a whole process. And then Mike got hired, and I said, well, I know that offense. I think I can play in that offense.
Well, one thing I know about you, you know ball, right? You know football through and through. So I want to test your knowledge of how well do you know your career?
So again, as he stated, Mike McCarthy coming in. Now it's gonna be interesting how much did that offense change. McCarthy was out of football, so that's another little piece to think about as well. But this is my thing when it comes to McCarthy and Rodgers. What make us think this year gonna be any different? Because y'all had all those years together in Green Bay, y'all got one Super Bowl. So what made me think this year gonna be the year? This year gonna be different when you got to go up against the Bengals and the Ravens, Lamar and Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins. Defensively, you got the Kyle Hamiltons and the Dexter Lawrences and the now the Trey Hendricksons. Like, what made me think this gonna be better if you couldn't get it done more than once down in Green Bay? That's neither here nor there. Defensively, and this is another reason why I feel Tomlin is gone as well. I mean, this was his cream of the crop. This was his Steelers were horrible defensively. They were horrible. 26 in total D, 29th in passing D. Now they had an average pretty good rush defense, 13th. Yeah, they were able to stop the run, but everybody in the AFC North outside of the Browns, funny, everybody struggled defensively. Last year was a weird year for the AFC North, but for that to be his cream of the crop, they were horrible. I mean, that just kind of gave him more ammo to. I think we just kind of need to part ways. But then you go out and get McCarthy hires Patrick Graham as their DC, who's the Raiders former DC. He had them pretty. You look at the Raiders stats, had them pretty average, middle of the pack defensively in every category. But for a team that don't have much talent, that's you give him TJ Watt, you give him Derek Harmon in the middle. I mean, you give him Jalen Ramsey, JPJ Joy Porter Jr. You give him this talent, these guys, these veteran guys, If he had that at middle of the pack, I honestly think Graham will be able to get this defense back to the status when I think of Steelers, great defense. Even the Big Ben years, when you think of Steelers, I'm still thinking of a great defense. I'm thinking Big Ben, great defense. Steelers always have had a great because of who their head coach has been all the years, Mike Tomlin. So I think Patrick Graham will be able to get them back to their glory. But here is him talking about that. And I'm gonna play this whole video because it's only like an hour. I mean, not an hour. It's only like a minute and a.
The benefit of being here with the Steelers is that there's a clear standard in terms of what the people of the city and the town and what the Rooney fan, what they expect. You know, I know we made mention to it, you know, the steel curtain. I mentioned this before, like there's no need for any gimmicks for me as a coordinator to come up with any gimmicks for what we got to do. Like, let's win this one for that, or I don't have to make up any BS about that. I mean, the people in this town and just having time to be around the town and meet the people, it's clear. And again, the funny thing is they'll make it clear to you wherever you go to eat in terms of what they expect. And I think it's kind of cool. It's a challenge. And I've said it before, we're trying to figure out and earn our way in this tradition of the Steeler defense. And, you know, there's lofty goals there in terms of, you know, the teams that have come before us, all the great coaches that have been here before. And we're just trying to earn our place in this tradition. And I know this, we're far away from that by any stretch of imagination right now, but we just got to work hard, put in the work, build day by day and go from there. But what I would anticipate, physical, playing fast, getting the ball off the offense and doing it consistently. You know, that's what you really see when you look at the great teams that have been here, defenses, is being consistent. And in order for us to be consistent, I think we got to build our conditioning. We got to make sure our communication is on point. We got to get to know one another so that we can have those hard conversations when it doesn't look right. And so far, I've been real pleased with what the coaches have been doing, what the players have been doing to help you know, build that. And it's been positive so far.
Literally, Steelers love talking tough for that tenant. Exactly. That's what I'm like. I mean, I like some of the moves they've made. Patrick Graham talked about it defensively, but they still went 10-7. Did they make enough improvement to go 3-4 win total? If we look at every other division in the AFC, 13-14 wins won that division. Are we I'm gonna get my prediction at the end. We're gonna hit the Ravens, then that's it. Am I going to say, y'all find out, are they gonna improve by 3 to 4 wins? Because I think the Ravens and the Bengals, them three, it's gonna be between them three. I'm going, that ain't the Browns last, that ain't gonna be no surprise. But kind of touch on their draft class. They went tackle, Max Ionaker, something like that. Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver. QB Drew Aller. He's showing flashes. Fans are raving about him in training camp. Who gonna coach him though? Is McCarthy staying at the Rodgers League? Or are we gonna be getting ready to bring in another head coach? Cornerback Dalen Everett, guard Jennings Dunker. Then they went Caden Weston, Riley Nowakowski. That was interesting because he's a tight end out of Indiana, but they drafted him to be a fullback. That's gonna be interesting. I like that. Gabe Rubio, defensive end, Robert Spears Jennings, safety, and Eli Heinrich, running back out of Navy. So I think he'll fit Pittsburgh perfect. Navy, that military, that them blue collar, that work hard, that. So that was the Steelers off season. Last but not least, the Baltimore Ravens, to kind of dive into their offseason a little bit. They also had an event for offseason. They fired longtime head coach John Harbaugh, pretty much for the same reason as Tomlin, for the same reason as Sean McDermott in Buffalo. Year after year after year after year, when it comes time to playoff, when it comes time to crunch time, you cannot get us over the hump. At some point, a new message? Is the message stale? Is the what is the issue? And is all of it on Harbaugh? Because some of it we will say with Lamar. When playoff games come, he doesn't run as much. He doesn't use his leg as much. OC, the calling of the plays is less run. It's all they want to call all these pass plays. They're not tapping into what makes them great in the postseason. I mean, in the regular season, in the postseason comes, it's a completely different team. It's a completely different Lamar. It's a completely different offense. That's on you too as the head coach, though. Tell that, hey, run the ball. Like I said, and Tomlin mentioned it, the old heads, the dudes who's been at these teams for all these years and not having success. These fans are getting tired of that. These teams would I rather want to be above 500 every year and not be able to get a top prospect? I'd rather, as a Jaguar fan, I'd rather be sorry and be able to get Trevor Lawrence opposed to 500. But because of our draft status, and we ain't able to get the top guys, so we kind of just stay stagnant. We stay right here the whole time. That's where I would be. So then they go out and hire young defensive mind, young defensive guru, Jesse Mentor, who a lot of people rave about, a lot of people love. He was the former Chargers DC 2024 and 2025. To look at some of their numbers, even his first season as a DC in 2024 for the Chargers, they were elite in all categories: total D, rushing D, passing D. Last season, 2025, he improved from that to taking them top 10, top 11 to top 10 right outside at 11 to top 5 in total D, top 5 in passing D, 8th in rushing D. He was brought in to improve this Ravens defense. Same thing with the Steelers, like he mentioned with the steel curtain. When I think of Ravens, I think of that defense. I think of Ray Lewis. There's no way a Ravens defense. Let me because I thought we gotta. They were bottom of the barrel too. Here we go. Ravens total defense for 2025. 24th in total defense. There's no way, and we all said it last year and watching the Ravens, like, damn, even when Lamar was healthy and playing, like, damn, this defense what's going on with this Ravens defense? Passing D, they were 30th in passing D. I mean, this is not what you think of when you think of the Baltimore Ravens defense. Now, the rush defense was a lot better. It was towards the top of the league. They were able to stop the run. But yeah, Jesse Mentor was brought in to get this defense back on track. You see what I'm saying? Then they went out and go and get Trey Henderson along that line, get that pass rush back going. Let me pull. I'm gonna play Mentor because he was asked specifically. These reporters be funny. Mentor was asked specifically about how is he going to better the postseason success. Like, what you gonna do different that John Harbaugh couldn't do? So let's.
That's a great question, Jameson. I appreciate that. I really think building a really cohesive team that all the work that you do leads to being successful in those opportunities. So I think we will create standards that match the goals that we want to achieve, and then work every day tirelessly to get to that point. Our plan will be built on being at our best late in the season into the playoffs, and look forward to that challenge.
Jesse.
He mentioned it. We want to have success late in the season in the playoffs. To add on who they brought in, Trey Henderson, safety, Jalen Hawkins. Malachi starts going into year 2. Cal Hamilton, we all know about him and his versatility. I'm so interested to see what Mentor is gonna do with that back end, that secondary with those guys. Starks, Hamilton, want to say Calais Campbell signed. And I'm about to play here Trey Hendrickson talking about, I mean, he stayed in the AFC North. We all know you chose to stay in your division, bro. Them Bengals games gonna be, especially how they did you. They didn't want to pay you. You went through so much to even get your contract. Reports out of training camp coming out. He's worth the money that they paid him. So here is Trey talking about, why he chose to stay in the AFC North.
Lombardi. What does it take to help the team get to that point?
Well, it's built in OTAs, right? Like it starts in OTAs and it's established in training camp. You get preseason and then you get going in the regular season. And there's a limited amount of opportunities. So making the most of those and coming together as a nucleus under a new coaching scheme is something that's important from the ground up. So that I can be a part of it as soon as possible is important to me.
So Trey, you've played at M&T Bank Stadium plenty of times.
It's exciting to have me in sports and
what makes you go, and that's part of what's.
So I ended up switching the clips. I did have him talking about AFC, but then as I watched it, I switched it to, oh no, I liked him talking about the championship pedigree. You got to show up in OTAs. You got to, and I want to segue to that because we're going to get on Lamar and his new OC who called him out. Yes, stay tuned for my predictions. Ravens are definitely out of the coaching hires in this division. I think the Mentor one was the best hire. But yeah, like he mentioned, and to segue into him saying, you've been around the championship. It starts in OTAs. Offensively, I kind of already mentioned, Mentor decides to go with OC Declan Doyle. He's a first-time play caller. Him and Lamar Jackson are literally the same age. Now I think Declan's 30 now, but at the time they were the same age. We remember that talk, and I'm gonna read it verbatim. Remember that when that article came out about when Lamar didn't show up to OTAs. You got a new head coach, new coaching staff, new OC. You got to be here. Like, we shouldn't have to keep asking our friend. Now, this is the problem. They are voluntary. But where is that championship mindset of, you know what, I'm going to go, I'm going to show up, we're going to build, we're going to grind and do what we need to do. When everybody else don't want to show up, I'm going to show up. Let me get to know my OC. Let me get to know my new head coach, my quarterback coach, my all that. You want to stay in Florida. You got to come bring your butt to Baltimore, bro. And be around the coaching staff, the new players that's being brought in. Because Declan Doyle... Everybody was talking about he called out his, he didn't call him out. He let him know. But let me go ahead and read it. He said, we would expect players to be here, and certainly it is voluntary. But if you want to say that you're going to win a championship, you want to say that you have championship standards, and those are your goals and your expectations, certainly that's going to take work, that's going to take collaboration, and that's going to take the beginning of building the relationship with their coaches and other players starting off this next regime on the right foot. That's not calling out Lamar Jackson. That's letting him know, bro, like, yeah, it's voluntary, but I expect you to be here. I need to meet you. I need to be around you. You need to get to know me. You need to get to know your staff. That wasn't calling him out at all, but I actually love that he did that because, y'all are the same age, but I'm your coach. I'm your coach at the end of the day. It ain't no back and forth when it comes to this right here. So I actually like that he did that. And actually, here is Lamar talking about Declan Doyle. Lamar loved that. He want that out of his coach.
challenging me each and every day, whether it's footwork, or rather it's just, just get the ball rolling. Let's get to the line of scrimmage, execute at a fast tempo. In the classroom, he told me that early, in the classroom, it's easy for you to just get this right, but when you get up to the line of scrimmage, it's execution fast enough, and I like that. Our age, it doesn't mean anything because respect is respect. His title is coach. So I'm going to treat him like a coach. I don't care if he's 50, 29, 28. I don't feel like I know it all. Even if I feel like I know something, teach me. I want to see your point of view of this. So he's challenging us, and that's pretty much what I want. And I feel like every player should want that. You want the coach to bring the best out of you.
Literally what I just said. I haven't even watched the whole video. I watched the first part and I said, okay, I'm clip. I haven't even literally what I just said. Like, we the same age, but I'm still your coach at the end of the day. But I'm also a player. That's why I relate to a lot of these things. I play a sport myself. Your coach is your coach. You see what I'm saying? They doing it, put the years, the time in to teach, study. You have to, but that's why we rely on our coaches, man. Now that run game again, Mentor, he want to focus strictly on that defense. Declan, you, Lamar, I'm not worried about the run game. And if we look at the run game, the Ravens were like second in the league in rushing offense last year. We got Hall of Fame Derrick Henry back there behind Lamar. I'm not worried about the run game. Then you plug in Justice Hill when Derrick Henry need breaks. We need to get that passing game going though, because they were second in rushing, 27th in passing though. Can Declan Doyle get Zay Flowers? And this is another thing too. I want to give Zay, because I'm talking about him, because I'm like, dang, why don't we give Zay Flowers his respect? The man had over 1,200 yards last year. The year before had another like 1,100 yard season. Why don't we give him the respect he deserved? Like, when we talking about top wide receivers in the league, we never really mention Zay Flowers. It's just something about, like, I couldn't even say it myself. But it's Zay Flowers and who else? Mark Andrews is on the decline. Can Declan bring something out of that Rashad and Lamar connection? Can he get something out of Rashad Bateman? They're gonna have to have something outside of just Zay Flowers, and because if that run game is getting stopped, all we got to do is double Zay and can't nobody get none going. That's not gonna work. That's why they were 27th in passing though. But that's kind of always been the thing with the Ravens. Guys not really, wide receivers not really wanting to come in because they don't want to block all day. But the last couple years, I want to say the Josh Allen MVP year, we was debating should it be Lamar. Even last season, the year before, like, Lamar has really unlocked in the passing game. Like, that's no concern no more. I'm gonna play this last little clip on Doyle talking about Lamar in his offense.
I think running the show. It's every part of it. The more he works at it, the more he grows, the more he has ownership of it. There's things that come up every single day that we can come off the sideline and immediately talk about and say, okay, if this happens again, this is what I want you to do. Or, hey, I'm giving you the authority to do this. There's some unexplored territory with him. And that's really what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to figure out, what can we try to be the best in the world at? And then let's ask him to do those things, and let's cut out the fluff that we don't think we could be as good at.
You mentioned the unexplained.
So that was Declan Doyle on Lamar Jackson. To kind of hint at their draft class, they went and got a guard, Ole Vega, something like that. Zion Young, edge, Jacoby Lane, wide receiver. I'm actually interested in that battle, because is it going to be Jacoby or is it going to be LaJohntay Wester? I like, they went and got Elijah Sarrett, wide receiver, Matthew Hibner, tight end, Chandler Rivers, corner, Josh Suevas, tight end. They know Mark Andrews is on the decline. We can't keep depending on Mark Andrews. Adam Randall, running back. They got a punter, Ryan Eckley, Rayshawn Benny, D tackle, and Evan Burnson, a guard. They went heavy on the receivers and tight ends, like I just mentioned. It got to be somebody outside of Zay Flowers making plays for that Ravens offense in the passing game. Now, that's it for as far as breaking down each team. To go into my predictions, let's go ahead and get into it. At 4, last in the division, I have probably not a shocker to anybody. The Cleveland Browns, they're going to be last in the division yet again. I mean, I just don't. It's not that I don't like the top mucking higher, but what are you doing? Like, I mean, we're less than a month away from the season, and we still shuffling around QBs. You still ain't named no quarterback, no QB1. But you know who you want your QB1 to be, because that's why you keep trying to feel like you got to explain yourself. That's why you getting shoddy with reporters when they ask certain questions. You know you want Deshaun Watson to be your quarterback one. Go ahead and name him. That way he can start getting majority of the reps. Y'all got a new O-line. He got to build rapport with the O-line. Go ahead and name Deshaun Watson the quarterback one, and let's get this thing going. I just don't like how he's handling this situation so far this offseason. He's letting the media, he's letting the fans, he's playing into this quarterback company. They putting out posts of each quarterback stats in training camp. I like the pieces they add. I like KC Concepcion. You got a new O-line. I like bringing in Titus Howard, but at the end of the day, it's still the Browns, and I just don't think they can compete with the Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals game after game in this division. Third in the division. Now these next 3, I think, are neck and neck and neck. But somebody got to be first, somebody got to be second, somebody got to be third. So third in the division, I'm gonna go the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, I like some of the additions they made, especially offensively. I like bringing in Michael Pittman. Can he stay healthy? I like Rico Dowdle. Can Rodgers stay healthy? What is McCarthy gonna be able to do for as a whole in his first season? First season as the Steelers head coach. I just don't. This is just strictly, I think, Graham, that defense will be much improved. But I mean, really, you can only go up from here. They was bottom of the league. All we can do is go up anyway. I just looking at it, this is strictly just, I don't think the Steelers can compete with the Ravens and the Bengals in this division. Now the next 2, I kind of got to do this 1A, 1B, but again, somebody got to be first, somebody got to be second, somebody got to be third, somebody got to be fourth. So who I have winning the AFC North? We left with the Bengals and the Ravens. Who I have winning the AFC North? I like the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC North because I like the Jesse Minter hire. I think he's going to totally revamp that Ravens defense. I think that Ravens defense is they're going to get back to one of the top defenses in the league, along with Lamar Jackson. I'm taking Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry over Joe Burrow and whatever run game they got going on over there. Bengals, a run game that was 30th in rushing offense. Ravens run game, who even with all their faults was second in the league last year. I'm taking Henry and Lamar over Burrow and Brown. I'm taking that Ravens defense over Dexter Lawrence. Who are your edges? Can Shamar Stewart stay healthy? I got Malachi Starks. I got Ravens, got Kyle Hamilton. I mean, we got Trey Hendrickson. We got the Ravens defense cooking up. Not saying the Bengals aren't. No, not a Bengals offense, but that's why I'm gonna lean Ravens, because I put a little bit more faith in their defense being able to stop that Bengals offense rather than the Bengals defense being able to stop that Ravens offense. We saw last year. I mean, how those games went. So I got Bengals 2, Ravens 1. But I mean, obviously, this game is going to come down to that Ravens Bengals December 31st. that second to last game of the season. Whoever win that, I think gonna win the division, and I think it's gonna be the Ravens. So yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Those that came in, hopped in. Thank you, JE-Pal23 for commenting. You know, you always are here supporting. Thank you so much for that. Make sure everything done before you try to have fun. Peace.